A family legacy shattered by greed, a will that hides deadly secrets, and a daughter's fury igniting revenge. Dive into this gripping tale of betrayal that'll have you questioning every family bond. The truth is buried deep, but the payback is coming hard. Hey, Revenza Tales crew, buckle up for a heart-pounding revenge epic that'll keep you on the edge. Hit subscribe to join the squad, smash that like if you love family drama twists, and comment your wildest betrayal stories below. Let's jump into the bloodline betrayal. The lawyer's office smelled of aged leather and dusty tomes, a room where fortunes rose and fell like empires. I sat at the polished mahogany table, my hands clasped tightly, my heart pounding as if sensing the storm ahead. Across from me lounged my brother, Michael, his custom suit hugging his frame, his hair gelled to perfection, exuding that effortless arrogance he'd mastered. Beside him, my mother, Patricia, sat with regal poise, her pearl necklace gleaming like a symbol of her unyielding control, her crimson lips set in a line of quiet triumph. I felt like an intruder in my own family's circle, the way Michael's smirk pierced me, the way Patricia avoided my gaze as if I were a mere inconvenience. The lawyer, Mr. Thompson, cleared his throat, his glasses slipping down his nose as he unfurled the document, the final will of my father, John Miller. The air thickened, my nails digging into my palms. This will, Mr. Thompson intoned, his voice grave and measured, was executed by Mr. Miller 8 months before his death. It bequeaths the bulk of his estate, encompassing the family mansion, corporate holdings, and cash reserves, to his son, Michael Miller. The declaration hit like a thunderclap, echoing in my mind. Michael's mouth twitched into a triumphant grin. Patricia reached over, her manicured hand patting his, her eyes sparkling with maternal pride. And to his daughter, Sarah Miller, Mr. Thompson proceeded, his tone unwavering, he allocates a sum of $15,000. $15,000, from an estate valued at over $50 million. My throat constricted, the room spinning as betrayal washed over me. Michael chuckled softly, his voice dripping with condescension. Looks like Dad knew who could steer the ship without sinking it. Patricia nodded, her voice silky. It's the right choice, Sarah. You've never grasped the burden of our heritage. Michael was born for it. Her words sliced deeper than the legal blow, a knife twisted in old wounds. For 28 years, I'd been the steadfast daughter, the one who remained by Dad's side during his illness, handling doctor visits, medications, and sleepless nights while Michael jetted off to lavish getaways. Yet here I was, reduced to a pittance, my devotion dismissed as worthless. A mere token, a slap disguised in formality. My vision blurred, but I swallowed the lump in my throat. This can't be right. Mr. Thompson adjusted his glasses, his expression neutral. The document is authenticated, signed, and notarized. But Dad promised me, he said I'd lead the family charity, that I had the vision for it. Patricia's hand rose sharply, silencing me like a disobedient child. That's enough, Sarah. Your father's wishes are clear. Don't tarnish his memory with doubt. I stared at her, the woman who had raised me, now complicit in stripping me bare. In that instant, something inside me fractured, but another piece solidified into steel. I drew a deep breath, refusing to let tears fall, denying them the sight of my collapse. I understand, I said evenly, my voice a mask of calm amid the inner turmoil. Michael's grin widened, mistaking my restraint for defeat. No hard feelings, sis. You're just not cut from the same cloth. Dad saw that. But in his eyes, a shadow flickered, unease, perhaps fear that I might unravel more. I noted it, tucking it away like a hidden weapon. The session concluded, papers signed, and Michael sauntered out with Patricia on his arm, not sparing me a glance. I lingered, approaching Mr. Thompson as he organized his files. Be honest, I whispered, leaning in. Did my father truly draft that will? Mr. Thompson's composure wavered for a split second, his eyes darting. It's duly executed and verified. That's all I can disclose. That brief pause fueled my doubts, igniting a fire in my chest. That night, I returned to my modest apartment, collapsing in the dim light, staring at a photo of Dad and me from my graduation, his arm around me, his smile genuine. Dad wasn't flawless, stern, unyielding, a self-made tycoon, but his love for me was real, unwavering. He wouldn't have betrayed me like this. Unless it wasn't his doing. Unless someone had forged it. My thoughts spiraled through the past year, Patricia's meddling, Michael's sudden return from abroad, their hushed conferences while I tended to Dad's bedside. And I recalled his frail whisper a week before he passed, his hand gripping mine. "You're stronger than they know, Sarah. You'll guide the foundation with heart. Don't let them sideline you." Those weren't the words of a man who'd disown me. No, something was amiss. Grief morphed into rage, rage into unyielding purpose. If my family craved conflict, I'd deliver it. The following days simmered with suppressed fury. Michael seized control of Miller Construction and Timber, unveiling ambitious ventures, parading through offices like a conqueror. Patricia attended every session, her whispers shaping his decisions, her sway unmistakable. I was sidelined, treated as a relic. When I visited to retrieve Dad's mementos, the receptionist shifted uncomfortably. "I'm afraid, Miss Miller, Michael has restricted access to the executive suite for you." Restricted, from the place where Dad had taught me business basics on his knee. I exited, my fists balled, nails biting skin. But passivity wasn't my path. I acted discreetly, obtaining will duplicates, scrutinizing clauses. I consulted my own attorney, Jessica Reed, a keen expert in estate disputes. She pored over the papers, her brow creasing. "This signature seems hurried, inconsistent with his usual flourish. And the notary stamp, it's from a firm that dissolved months ago." My breath quickened. "So, forgery?" Jessica's gaze was serious. "Plausible. But substantiating it demands proof, testimonies, forensics, audit trails." "Proof." I could unearth that. For if Michael and Patricia believed they'd erased my claim, they were delusional. They'd merely sparked the inferno. It started with murmurs from loyal staff who recalled my childhood visits. Bored veterans who confided Dad always praised both offspring, never favoring Michael alone. Then, an accountant, Thomas, approached me covertly one dusk. "Miss Sarah," he murmured, eyes scanning nervously. "Your father confided in me shortly before passing. He envisioned you helming the charity arm, said you possessed the compassion. Michael, he feared, was too impulsive." I tensed. Why stay silent at the reading? Thomas averted his gaze, shame evident. "Patricia cautioned us against meddling, claimed it dishonored Mr. Miller. I regret it now." Patricia, always the puppeteer. I departed that evening with resolve etched in my features. With each revelation, my determination intensified. They assumed they'd silenced me. But I endured. And I wouldn't yield. Not until the truth surfaced. Not until they faced consequences. The morning after confiding with Thomas, I awoke with a surge of vitality coursing through my veins. The sorrow that had once anchored me to my bed vanished, supplanted by a razor-sharp resolve that felt both liberating and perilous. If Patricia and Michael had fabricated that will, I'd expose them. The initial phase was investigation. I immersed myself in the county archives, poring over land records, authenticated testaments, and formal submissions. Each page offered glimpses into my father's domain, mostly mundane legalese. Yet, a discrepancy emerged. The notary on John's will, Elena Vargas, had shuttered her practice 10 months prior to the signing date. Her seal, however, adorned the document boldly. I located her in a quaint apartment complex on the city's outskirts. She was in her early 60s, with weary eyes and fingers yellowed from years of smoking. When I explained my visit, her posture rigidified. "I ceased notarizing well over a year before your father's passing," she asserted resolutely. "If my stamp appears there, it wasn't my doing." My heartbeat accelerated. "So, forgery?" Her lips pressed thin, her gaze flicking to the window as if shadows lurked outside. "I can't confirm that. But I didn't authenticate John Miller's will. That's the extent of my statement." I expressed gratitude, handed her my contact, and departed. My hands quivered on the wheel, adrenaline spiking. It was a sliver of validation, modest, yet tangible, that the will was fraudulent. Concurrently, Michael reveled in his usurped authority. Local media fawned over the rising star of Miller Construction, featuring glossy images of him at sites, Patricia invariably by his side, her smile a veneer of familial unity. I avoided the coverage, but Jessica urged preservation. Perception is key, she advised. In court, their ostentatious display of stolen power will undermine their credibility. But a deeper unease festered. Recalling John's words, "Don't let them sideline you," I sensed he'd foreseen Patricia and Michael's scheme. That insight propelled me onward. I infiltrated board gatherings covertly, Thomas providing schedules. I lurked in dim corners, absorbing Michael's rhetoric on bold expansions and calculated gambles. One evening, post-meeting, I overheard Patricia and Michael in the corridor. "Bar her access," Patricia hissed. "Sarah poses a threat if she delves deeper." "She's got nothing," Michael retorted smugly. "The will is ironclad. We hold all the cards. She'll fold soon." I bit my tongue, body rigid to remain concealed. A threat. That's how Patricia viewed me. They were correct to fear. Fissures in their defenses surfaced swiftly. Rumors swirled about Michael's leadership, extravagant galas billed to the firm, hasty contracts sans scrutiny. Veteran staff, loyal to John, grumbled in hushed tones. Then, a breakthrough. Jessica unearthed prior estate drafts, designating me as joint inheritor and equal recipient. Dated mere months before his demise, they clashed with the final version. "Sarah," Jessica said, presenting the files, "this is dynamite. Proving tampering will affirm John's genuine intentions." My breath caught as I traced his bold script, Sarah to co-manage the Miller Foundation with Michael. He had believed in me. He had envisioned my role. I wasn't delusional. The rage that simmered erupted into a blaze. One twilight, Thomas phoned, his tone fraught. "You must witness this," he urged. "Rendezvous at the office, post-closing." The structure loomed shadowy upon arrival. Thomas guided me to accounting, unfurling ledgers and statements. "Firm expenditures," he clarified. "But observe these." He highlighted hefty outflows, tagged as advisory costs. "The funds aren't for advisors. They route to private accounts, Michael's and Patricia's." I scrutinized the figures, pulse thundering. Millions diverted from Miller Construction. "They're draining the company," Thomas muttered darkly. "Unchecked, your father's creation crumbles in under 18 months. I gazed at the evidence, fury igniting every nerve. Not content with theft, they ravaged John's heritage. "They believe victory is theirs," I breathed. "But they're oblivious to the reckoning." Thomas paused. "Sarah, pursuing them, it transcends commerce. It'll shatter your kin." I locked eyes with him. They shattered it when they excised me. Thereafter, I led a dual life. Days at my unassuming employment, facade intact. Nights compiling dossiers, fortifying my claim. I consulted graphologists who deemed John's signature dubious. I interviewed attendants, caregivers who recalled John articulating his desires vividly. Gradually, the mosaic formed. Patricia and Michael had exploited a vulnerable elder, rewriting his testament for avarice. But I'd overturn it. The clash arrived unexpectedly. One Friday dusk, I found Patricia awaiting outside my flat, poise impeccable, smile cutting. "Sarah," she purred, rising. "We must converse." Instinct urged flight, but I admitted her. She trailed, heels echoing ominously. "Coffee?" I offered icily. She dismissed it. "Let's dispense with pretense." I folded arms. "Then state your purpose." She appraised me coolly. "You've been inquiring. Meddling in forbidden territories." I held firm. "Forbidden? This is John's legacy. My birthright." Her expression hardened. "You lack the fortitude, the cunning. John recognized it, even if you deny." I scoffed bitterly. John trusted me above you both. Hence the forgery, right? Her facade splintered momentarily. You possess no substantiation, she murmured threateningly. And supposing you did, what follows? You'd sully the Miller name in scandal? The Miller name perished with Dad, I retorted. You and Michael entombed it. Her gaze iced over. Regard this as caution. Cease, or rue it. She departed, her fragrance hanging like venom. I stood amid quiet, heart hammering. A threat. It affirmed my proximity. Rather than deter, it invigorated. For if they trembled, triumph neared. 3 weeks hence, Jessica lodged the will challenge. The judicial fray commenced. Michael raged, smearing me in press as the envious sibling undermining paternal decrees, covetous of his assent. Patricia corroborated, her feigned sorrow persuasive to outsiders. Yet, covertly, their realm fractured. Staff exodus accelerated, financiers withdrew. Thomas's records furnished irrefutable embezzlement proof. Nonetheless, proceedings lagged, filings amassing. One even Jessica's chambers, fatigued, she queried, Sarah, certain you persist? This consumes all, hours, funds, serenity. I peered at city glows, eyes stinging. They've stripped everything, I whispered. This battle is my sole remnant. I won't halt till they atone. The hearing loomed in 5 weeks. John Miller's fortune, 60 million, an enterprise, the Miller moniker, hung in judicial balance. For me, it transcended wealth. It embodied equity. It embodied reprisal. And I braced to incinerate all for it. The courthouse carried the scent of ink and polished wood, a sterile arena where legacies were forged or shattered. As I stepped through its towering oak doors, a hush enveloped me, heavy with the weight of the moment. This was no mere trial, it was the crucible where I'd reclaim my father's legacy or watch it vanish forever. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, a sea of faces packed into the pews. Reporters crowded the rear, their pens poised like vultures awaiting carrion. Loyal allies of my father, John Miller, murmured in tight clusters, their eyes darting with unease. Board members from Miller Construction sat rigidly, their futures tethered to the verdict. At the heart of the storm sat Patricia and Michael, unruffled in their tailored elegance. Patricia's pearls gleamed like a crown, her smile a polished mask of composure. Michael lounged with the swagger of a man convinced of his victory, his eyes glinting with disdain. I took my seat beside Jessica Reed, my attorney, her presence a steady anchor. She leaned close, her voice low and resolute. Stay focused, Sarah. This isn't about feelings, it's about facts. Let them expose their lies, and we'll crush them with the truth. I nodded, my pulse a relentless drumbeat in my chest. This was the moment. The reckoning. The judge entered, her robe sweeping like a dark tide. The trial commenced. Michael's counsel opened, casting me as the antagonist. Sarah Miller, he proclaimed, voice dripping with scorn, is a resentful daughter, unable to accept her father's deliberate choice. She was excluded because she lacked the fortitude, the vision, to uphold his empire. Her baseless claims stem from envy, nothing more. Michael nodded smugly, his posture radiating confidence. Patricia dabbed her eyes with a silk handkerchief, her performance honed to perfection. I clenched my fists beneath the table, nails biting into my palms. Let them play their roles, I thought. They can't outrun the truth. Jessica rose, her presence commanding, her voice a blade of clarity. John Miller was a titan of integrity, a man who cherished honesty above all. We will demonstrate that the will presented by Patricia and Michael Miller was not his true testament. It was born of fraud, manipulation, and forgery. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Michael's smirk faltered, a crack in his armor. Patricia remained statuesque, her facade unyielding, yet her fingers tightened around her handkerchief. The first witness, Thomas, the accountant, took the stand. He unveiled bank records, each line a damning stroke. These withdrawals, he stated, pointing to transactions labeled as consulting fees, totaled millions. They flowed directly to accounts controlled by Michael and Patricia Miller, not to any legitimate consultants. Michael's attorney erupted in objections, his voice shrill, but the judge permitted the evidence. The numbers were irrefutable. Next, Elena Vargas, the retired notary, testified. Her gaze was steady, her words cutting. I closed my practice well before the alleged notarization of John Miller's will. If my seal appears, it was applied without my consent. Her testimony landed like a grenade, the courtroom buzzing as reporters scribbled frantically. Then, we presented John's earlier estate drafts, penned in his distinctive scrawl, naming me co-heir and co-executor. The evidence pressed down on Patricia and Michael like a gathering storm. I saw it in the slight quiver of Patricia's lips, the restless twitch of Michael's leg. But the battle was far from won. When I took the stand, my heart thundered, but my voice held firm. Jessica's questions were gentle, guiding me through the fire. Sarah, describe your bond with your father. I inhaled deeply. He was my mentor, my guide. He taught me resilience, leadership, the value of protecting what's ours. He always said I was integral to the company's future. Did he discuss his estate plans with you? Yes, I affirmed. He declared Michael and I would lead Miller Construction together, as equals. He called us his dual legacy. How did it feel to learn you'd been disinherited? I paused, letting the silence weigh heavy. It shattered me. But I knew it wasn't his will. John would never betray me. That's why I fought. As I stepped down, Michael's glare burned with venom. Patricia's eyes held a colder threat, calculating, almost serpentine. Their turn came. Michael strode to the stand, exuding bravado. My father trusted me implicitly, he declared, voice smooth as polished stone. He confided that Sarah lacked the resolve for leadership. He chose me to safeguard his vision. His lies stung, but I kept my face impassive. Patricia followed, her demeanor a masterclass in feigned grief. My husband was pragmatic, she said, voice trembling artfully. He saw Sarah's limitations. His decision was for the family's future, though it pains me that she rejects it. Her performance was flawless, a widow's sorrow crafted for sympathy. But I knew her. And I held the truth. The trial's crescendo arrived on the fifth day. Jessica summoned our final witness, a graphologist, Dr. Ellen Harper. She dissected the will's signature with clinical precision, stroke pressure, letter angles, minute deviations. My expert conclusion, she stated, is that the signature on the final will does not match John Miller's authentic hand. It is a forgery. The courtroom exploded in murmurs. Michael's attorney shouted objections, but the judge's gavel silenced him. I glanced at Patricia, her mask shattered, eyes wide with panic. Michael's face drained of color, his arrogance crumbling. Jessica's closing argument was a masterstroke. This case transcends wealth, it's about justice. John Miller built his legacy on trust and honor. That legacy was stolen by greed and deceit from those closest to him. We seek to restore Sarah Miller's rightful inheritance and deliver justice for a man whose final wishes were betrayed. As the jury retired to deliberate, tension choked the air. My stomach knotted, each passing hour an eternity. Finally, they returned. The foreman rose, clutching the verdict. We, the jury, declare the contested will invalid due to fraud and forgery. We reinstate John Miller's estate per his prior drafts, designating Sarah Miller as equal heir and co-executor of Miller Construction. Relief crashed over me like a tidal wave. I had triumphed. Michael surged to his feet, face contorted with rage. This is a travesty. She's manipulated you all. The judge's gavel slammed. Order. But Michael persisted, voice rising. You'll rue this, Sarah. I'll torch everything before you claim a cent. Security restrained him, his shouts echoing as they escorted him out. Patricia remained seated, her face ashen, her elegance stripped bare. For the first time, she couldn't meet my gaze. The aftermath was relentless. Michael faced charges for embezzlement, his empire unraveling in legal battles. Investors fled, the board ousted him, and headlines branded him a pariah. Patricia withdrew from society, her once impeccable reputation in tatters. I assumed leadership of Miller Construction, steering it toward stability. But my mission extended further. I founded the John Miller Foundation, dedicated to ethical business, echoing his mantra, "Don't let anyone sideline you." The world hailed me as the daughter who fought for her father's truth. Yet I knew my core. I wasn't merely a survivor. I was the reckoning. Months later, I met Patricia at a quiet diner. She was gaunt, her pearls absent, her eyes hollowed by defeat. "You destroyed us," she whispered across the table. I sipped my tea, unwavering. "No, Mother. You destroyed yourselves. I just ensured the world saw it." She lowered her gaze, silenced for the first time. I rose, left a bill on the table, and stepped into the crisp evening air. A profound calm settled over me. The war was won. The legacy was mine. I had honored John's promise, no one had pushed me aside. Greed may masquerade as loyalty, but truth and resilience can dismantle even the deepest betrayals. Never underestimate those you wrong, for their silence conceals a storm of retribution. True legacy is built on honor, not deceit, and rises strongest from those who refuse to be erased. That's a wrap, Revenza Tales fans. If this epic showdown set your heart racing, smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and share this video to spread the vengeance. Subscribe and ring the bell to catch every thrilling tale. See you in the next one.